Hello, viewers, artists, and all alike, to the Art Lounge Alley. This is Project Part 57. I'm your host, and I'm going to jump right into drawing. This is my project. This is something that I've been working on for some time. It is a character that I am developing, and I'm pretty happy with the results. I'm always looking to do better, of course, which is what today's going to be about. My plan is to actually add a flying car. This seems kind of strange that there are flying cars all around here, but not in this area. Like, I spent so much time, I think I was so focused on trying to get these buildings down that I just neglected that reality. Like, there should be some flying cars. It shouldn't be that sparse. Gonna add this little detail here. So what are you guys actually looking at? For those of you who are just tuning in for the very first time, the focus of this piece is going to be this guy right here, right in the middle, playing the guitar. Not guitar, upright bass. It is an upright bass, and he is fully mechanical being. I'm still deciding on whether he's actually going to be able to speak or if he is going to be like a mute. His face is going to be basically a screen that's going to display emojis, which I think is it's going to be kind of interesting in comparison to nowadays that a lot of people do express themselves with just emojis. But he is a wonderful musician, plays amazing music, and he is performing out on the street here in this like decrepit sort of like futuristic world. He's playing music for all these people who are totally consumed and hypnotized by technology. So you could see each and every person is kind of, they have their individualistic quote unquote designs for hardware that is plugged into their face basically, and they're just going about their day just focusing on whatever's playing there. You could see this character all the way on the right side. She can't even see where she's going. She's kind of like feeling her way through as she's like walking her pets, because she's just so enamored by whatever is going on in the screen. So I thought it was just like this interesting juxtaposition of like this mechanical being playing soulful music around a bunch of people who are supposed to be soulful, completely locked into technology. But yeah, it's really to develop this character more. I think he's it's pretty interesting, but I'm kind of leaving him to like, it's like best for last kind of thing. I don't know, these last three characters are all pretty fun, like this guy that I'm currently working on, and then these two especially I think are really going to add to the scene because they're towards the forefront and giving everything else more depth once I start inking them. Should be fun. And I think it's kind of important to make each person in the scene have these like unique looking glasses. It's sort of like a comment on consumerism of like how it basically does the same exact thing. It's just slightly different, and how people find solstice in design. Just a design that I came up on the spot, figured it's gonna look different, or it should look different from another character that I have in mind, who has kind of similar device looking device. So I want to distinguish them two. He has these like wires that are attached to another device. So rather than carrying them in a pocket, they could always be on. Could always be checking things and staying up to date with the latest whatever. I saw a video not too long ago, actually. It was pretty interesting, I'll say that, to say the least, where like it's similar to like Google Glasses or something, you know, or like VR, but mixed in with what is going on around you. So you're not completely inside a program, but like the programs project themselves. So like holographic images would be on, let's say if you're grocery shopping, they would be on certain displays, and rather than you just seeing like font saying, you know, it's on sale and so on and so forth, it's like the holographic image would move and talk to you about it. And then another thing of like when you buy something, there would be like a coupon that would pop up, and the coupon is like animated, and it would add points to your cart. Let's say if you're like a shopper, a frequent shopper at that place, it would add points, and that would make it animated. So it just like makes the entire walking experience of like shopping or whatever very interactive, but also extremely like it looks just like it's overloaded, you know, like you just are constantly looking at images popping up and like notifications everywhere. So it's like a little bit of a mix, you know, it's like a mixed bag. It kind of looks cool, it's interesting, but I think it could be exhausting. Like just everything that you're doing, you're on a subway and like the ads are talking to you, and then you get like a pop-up saying that you got this message from this app, and then, you know, but it's still very cool. It's kind of similar to, I want to say, if you guys haven't checked this out, this show, it's called Black Mirror, and I think almost everybody by now has heard of it, but it is very much, it was like an episode of Black Mirror, looking at that stuff. And that show, unfortunately, faded away. Like, I don't think there's been any new seasons. Like, they just stopped making... Let me check that real quick, actually. Yeah, it seemed like it ended in like 2019. I don't know. I'm hoping that they would come back, because they did come up with some very interesting theories, and they projected reality in this very interesting way that isn't totally just technology. Like, it wasn't just about like futuristic technology. Like, it was futuristic technology, but in a very clever way disguised it to make commentary about modern day. I'm not a fan of Netflix. I don't like what they're doing. I don't like the fact that they jumped on board with inflation as well, right in the middle of the pandemic. It's like there's no Netflix shortage. You know, people are talking about, well, when there's a shortage, it requires blah, blah, blah. Of course, also a bunch of bullshit. But yeah, Netflix jumped on board immediately and raised their prices as if though there was like a Netflix shortage. Yeah, people streaming things online. It's a real shortage. It doesn't even make any sense. But they didn't hesitate to spike up their prices in the middle of everything that was going crazy. And I was repulsed by that. I was like, I totally unsubscribed. I immediately unsubscribed the moment I saw that. But that's one show that I think was great on their service. that company makes trillions of dollars every month. Because if you think about it, right, if you think about how many people there are, and it's international, it's not just in the States or in Europe or whatever, it's everywhere. So monthly, people are paying $10, right? Multiply that by 1 billion people every month. That's a lot of money. That is so much. It's ridiculous. So to think that they wanted to bring up the price in the middle of the pandemic, in the middle of everything that was just exploding, it's greed. It's disgusting. I thought it was so repulsive. Like that company especially, it was absolutely repulsive. And there were so many companies that were also following along that model. Don't want to have anything to do with them. They're going to lose business from me, especially. And I think that's how they are able to do that, actually, because people don't protest that. They don't like say, okay, that's ridiculous. You guys are absolutely, especially at that time, like granted, or if let's say there was no pandemic, maybe that would have been okay. I still don't think so because the economy is so screwed. That people are like companies are spiking up everything while pay and ways that people can make a living is stagnating. Like I was mentioning before, federal minimum wage hasn't been raised since 2009. And everything else, of course, has spiked since. So, pandemic or not, it's still really screwed up that that's going on and no action is taken, by people who are supposed to look out for the people, who are supposed to look out for the economy, etc. They're not really doing much about that. But yeah, but I would say like during the pandemic to do it even more so, it's tyranny. It's absolutely corporate fascism. So more people need to actually step up to it and say, nope, if that's how you're going to go about it, you're losing my business. And there's like so many options out there now. And I'd rather be doing this anyways than being glued to another series. In fact, I lost so much time to that as opposed to sitting and drawing and like getting better, creating books, and just being in a habit of doing this. I could realize like this is so much more fun. This is so much more rewarding, and at the end of the day, I feel so much better about how my time was spent than if I was to like binge watch a show. Once in a while it's nice to unwind, but key words here is once in a while. What is he gonna look like if actually does have a different looking face. I think he has a older looking face. Whoops. In the inked version. I kind of like a more of like a blank expression. it just plays into this whole like being consumed by technology. I think this turned out to be a little too thick. And this hat is like a mixture between like a beanie and a bowler's hat. I thought that would be interesting. I think my most favorite, going back to Black Mirror, I think one of the most favorite ones is probably the app one. I think everybody agrees with that one because it's just so dangerously close to how things are now, of like people just worrying like crazy about their rating and what other people think and putting on performance to get good ratings. It's kind of similar to likes, right? And followers and all that stuff, and like what people are willing to say or do in order to gain more of that. So I thought it was just like an interesting way of playing on it. But also at the same time, like, yeah, that is a thing. And in fact, it is a thing in China right now. Like, there are rating systems and everything that you do ends up being on this app. It's ridiculous. It's pretty much that. I want to say it's that episode going on in China. You guys should look it up and watch it. It's an interesting documentary. It's like a short documentary, I think 20 minutes or so, just talking about how they're using that technology as a way of reducing crime. So like people knowing that they're going to be recorded basically, and that their actions are going to be put on this app basically, deters them from committing any sort of crime, whether it's just like leaving garbage around in places where there is no garbage to be picked up. You know, they're just like throwing it out randomly or whatever, or anything worse than that. But that's just showing how minute of a violation, as we would most consider, would go on your record, you know, and then people would start recognize you as that person. And I think you end up glowing red if you start creating too many of these mistakes or something, which ends up getting you being confronted. I think, I don't remember, like there was like some sort of confrontation, whether it's like from the police or something, and then there's like some training that has to be done in order for you to not to do it or something. I don't remember. It was actually a while ago, and I watched it and I was like, man, this is just like Black Mirror. So I'm a little skeptical about that. And what do you guys think? This is actually going out to all the viewers out there. Like, what is your opinion on that? Do you think that is actually something beneficial. Like, if people do start noticing or realizing, like, anything I'm gonna do is actually gonna put me in a compromised position. Like, would that benefit, do you think, or is that gonna turn quickly into a tyrannical weapon? So yeah, post your opinions on that. Tell me what you think. I'm kind of curious to collect or to like hear about what your views are. Listen to me, I'm even sounding like those robots or whatever. Collect information. No, it's really just being curious to hear everybody's opinion on that. Like, do you agree with that? Like, at what point do you think it should stop, or should be considered illegal? Because in some cases, like, let's say littering, I think that's kind of good. Like, why give people the freedom to just litter and make everything dirty and disgusting, or like that's all going to affect the environment. It's all going to affect the not only environment, but the way you see your area, right? Everybody loves going to a neighborhood or like shopping center that's well kept and looks beautiful. So why not get in the habit of doing that around your area as well? But in other areas, I feel like it becomes like too much, and it becomes this thing where everyone's just super paranoid because they're like, I'm being watched all the time. I don't know. But yeah, post your opinion on it. Let me know what you guys think about this. I am curious. I mean, I don't think that it's even far away now. I think over there, probably in China, it's like in your face, like everybody knows that's what's going on, whereas here it's not. It's very covert. When you go shopping or whatever, it's, you're being recorded. It's not in your face, but it's there. So everybody's kind of consciously aware of it. It's this like subliminal almost idea. But let me know what you think about that. Like, would you rather know that you're being recorded and it's just kind of there to remind you, or for you to be able to see it and it's not this like hidden idea? Or would you rather not be aware of it? I haven't really thought about that much. Personally. I think other stuff that I've seen, actually, in that same documentary where it talks about that, it just shows how advanced technologically China is. And I think Japan as well. They're both very much like in tune with technology. But there were certain things that I saw that I was like, that's just stupid. That's so pointless. Like, I think it was like a toaster or something, and it had like an operating system on it. And I was like, it's just a toaster. Just make the toast and move on. Like, you don't need a whole like update and operating system on a toaster. It's absurd, man. Like, I think that's just going over the top. But yeah, surveillance obviously is like a huge thing over there on everything. I think now, I read not too long ago, I want to say sometime in the past year or so, I read an article that said now it's limiting how long kids can play video games. So you're not allowed to play more than X amount of hours. It's like a strict ban or something, like where they actually take they take it seriously. It's not one of those things where it's like suggested or anything. Like they actually do something about that. I forget what it is. I think because you're pretty much monitored about everything, especially like your internet activity, that they're able to just like shut down your sessions or something in video games. I don't know what it is that they're doing exactly, but I read that's a thing now. I could only imagine how that's going to go over here. I can't even imagine how that's going to go over there. You know, people lose it when they're like, they don't have access to the internet. So like I could only imagine like teenagers and kids who are playing video games all day, if they're like in the middle of a game and it just like shuts down on them. It would just like implode basically. And I remember a while ago, I used to sometimes just watch videos of rage quits, you know, where kids are playing video games and when they lose or something, how crazy they would get. And this is before TikTok. This is like before those kind of videos were really circulating. It's like all the way in the beginning, I think, of like YouTube videos and stuff. And I was watching it and it's hilarious, man. Like, of course now it's all becoming staged and kids are like staging it to get views and likes and all that stuff, but the fits that they would throw over just like these really bratty, crazy kids who are used to like always getting their way, and then just like something says no to them and they just snap and they like break the keyboard or like throw the keyboard through their computer. You know they could get another one. That's the whole idea, but it's like they just don't care. You know, there's such brats that they're like, yeah, mom, I need a new computer. I smashed the other one. It's wild. So I can't imagine what would happen if that becomes like a national ban everywhere. But I do want to say, I don't know, video games are an addiction. You know, I think there's just so much, like I've noticed personally how much more time I spend doing things that really are way more interesting, like reading. And I know that sounds like such a cliche, but it's true. Like just taking a break from playing. There were some games that I was heavily addicted to when I was younger. Like I was super addicted to StarCraft. It was ridiculous. And Diablo. I used to play Diablo and StarCraft insane amount of hours. But I don't think that the game industry was as heavily saturated at that time. So it was really exciting. Whereas now it's like, yeah, everybody and their grandma has a console and they're playing games all day. So I think that was part of the fascination. And they were like the leading industry in games, I think. Wow, I never got into that. Never got into World of Warcraft. Just didn't like it. I didn't like the graphics. I didn't like the gameplay. It didn't interest me at all whatsoever. But I was heavily into StarCraft and Diablo, and the amount of hours that I spent that I could have been drawing. You know, I could have been practicing, getting a lot better. Like I would have been way more developed in drawing and producing more stuff had I not spent that time. playing video games. So I don't know. There's a part of me that's against it, and the other part of me isn't. You know, it's just a matter of like, if it's not the video games, it's going to be something else. You know, if you just need to develop self-discipline. So it's just not even a matter of like taking those things away. It's just learning the benefit of not overdoing it is really the answer. Because yeah, as I mentioned, like if it's not that video game, or if it's not that, it's something else that is going to take the attention away, you know, or is going to become a form of procrastination. So if you never actually address procrastination, it's just going to go to something else. But I think like, you know, just going back to that whole like video game thing, like there are people who are gamers, you know, and their entire career is basically playing video games. And I don't know, I don't see that to be terrible. You know, is that worse than say working as, you know, or working for like some fascist corporate company where you come in, you do this job, and you're around awful people, and you're doing or backing awful things without even knowing it? Like, is that a better choice as a career? I would say absolutely not. You know, I'd rather there were more gamers around than people who are contributing to all these sick corporations. So, you know, plus and minus to everything, I want to say. It really depends on, I guess, what your endeavors are. So if you're a person who, let's say, wants to learn how to play an instrument, but you're playing video games a lot, that sucks, because you could be spending that time and you could be getting a lot better, and you could actually produce really interesting things. I'm always going to choose, you know, if the choice is between playing a video game or getting really good at an instrument and making that your career, I would say the latter is better. You know, I would say learning the instrument is a lot cooler. But yeah, if your entire goal is to become a gamer, a professional gamer, somebody who's like really making a lot, or, you know, they're just making a living off of it, and you know, also contributing all those things to like improving the economy, and like not contributing to like crazy stuff, that's great. You know, I don't see anything wrong with that. I think so many people have been brainwashed by the idea of what a job is, I think for them it's like, are you miserable? Well, if you're not miserable, that means you don't have a real job. And I think in a lot of cases is just wanting to feel justification for their choice. So if they made a choice and they have to deal with it every day, they want other people to be as miserable as them in order for them not to feel miserable about their choice. Like, oh, I got all these other people who are doing the same thing as me. And that way I'm not reminded what a horrible choice it was, or how I'm kind of like stuck in this job or whatever else. You don't want to be reminded by other people having something different or better in some way, or enjoyable or something. That's where it comes from. It's like this resentment that people have, and they try to justify it by saying a real job or whatever else. It's so annoying to talk to people like that. I just don't. But I would wish for them to find a job that makes them happy. I just don't agree with that idea that, unless everybody's doing what you're doing, then that means they're wrong or something. In that context. Because you could easily spin that on everything else, like if you're not out there murdering animals on a daily basis, well, then you're wrong. You don't know what you're doing, or you're an idiot, and I'm way more aware. It's like, no. So it really depends. It really depends on the scenario. But I want to say that one is purely predicated on spite. That one about the jobs and stuff. That doesn't have any merit. Like, there is no real decent truth to it. It's just purely like, hey, I hate the fact that I have to work this terrible job, and here you are playing video games making millions or whatever, 100,000s and stuff. Like, that's not a real job. That's ridiculous. Like, there's no real justification to say why it shouldn't be considered one. Unless you add the component of misery to it. Like, that's basically what their reasoning is for it. So just like everything else, there's like a positive and negative. So like, despite there being some like negative aspects to the internet, it's actually giving people opportunities to self-employ and not have to make these decisions about like, oh, I'm gonna work for this awful company that's really gonna exploit all my time and my money and my hard work, and I'm gonna get gypped at the end of all of it. Like, no, you could actually work for yourself and manage things and contribute still to society by donating, or I don't know, even starting companies, investing in schools and stuff. Actually have control over where your money goes, as opposed to working for a company and not having no idea that it's actually like helping to colonize across the country somewhere, displacing some people for the sake of more profit and more oil drilling that wreaks havoc on the environment and everything else, like that sort of thing. Trying to balance out shadows. As you could see, like on this side there's a lot more, like here and here, so I'm trying to add that element here as well, bring things around. Kind of want to give this dude a nose ring. But properly. Unfortunately, ladies and gents, the time for ending the stream is slowly creeping up. But don't worry. There's plenty more of Art Lounge Alley coming your way for the rest of this week. It's only Tuesday. Tomorrow is going to be coloring comics. I'm going to talk about some interesting things as well. And Thursday, you guys are going to be able to see more progress for the project stream. It is coming along. I am getting more and more done. Just trying to take a look here. So as I mentioned, I'm going to work on the cars, and then it's going to be the main character and the guy all the way in the front that you see right here, this dude. Yeah, and then it's going to be like just really refining things, adding little details here and there, and then finally taking it to the coloring stage, which should be pretty exciting. Don't want to stop working on this, but I do have to call it a night and start winding down. Start the day fresh tomorrow. There's a couple of more things that are going to be going on, but I don't want to talk about it yet. I don't want to reveal it, don't want to jinx it, but just know that there's some exciting things brewing that are coming your way. I'm gonna have real interesting things to show you guys. So make sure you tune back in. For those of you tuning in for the very first time, make sure you guys hit the like and subscribe button. That way you get notification, and you can also check out the social media platforms that I have listed in the About section for you guys to know what's up, what's going on, when the new special streams, hint, are on the way, that sort of thing. You guys can also check out the Patreon page. That's also listed in the About section. And you can access all the previous streams by heading over into the video section and filtering based on collection, where you guys will see folders that I created specifically for every stream. Folder for drawing basics, folder for project stream, etc. And that way you guys can take time and go through old ones as you wait for new stuff, or even on the weekends. So that's pretty much it, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. This is a blast as always. And yeah, I want to hear your thoughts about like the surveillance thing that I was mentioning, those Black Mirror episodes, and a couple of other questions I got on there. So remember to write about that as well. I want to hear your opinions, guys. I want to see what you guys think about all those things. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you tomorrow.